The future of same-sex marriage in Indiana is now in the hands of 3 federal appeals court judges in Chicago.
Now, those judges peppered the attorney for Indiana with pointed questions during this morning's argument over the ban on gay marriage. Eyewitness News reporter Mary Mills had a seat in the courtroom where she heard the arguments and the reaction after the hearing. Mary.
It was a very boisterous hearing from the start. The plaintiff's attorneys were questioned on the fundamental right to marriage, where that might lead. But it was the state's attorney who really got hammered, especially by the court's Republican appointee, who called the ban ridiculous, comparing it to the laws once banning blacks and whites from marrying. Plaintiffs who stood in line outside the federal building waiting for the doors to open couldn't help but feel anxious.
It's a little bit nervous. You know, our lives are out there on the line for equality for everyone.
But that would change once they were inside the federal building, hearing Indiana Solicitor General Thomas Fisher face a barrage of questions from the 3-judge panel.
There was no let-up of the questions, and there didn't seem to be a good argument on either state side as to why we should not be able to be married and protect our children and families.
The hearing inside this building lasted 45 minutes, with each side given 20 minutes to argue their case. A Reagan-appointed judge repeatedly grilled Fisher on the rationale behind Indiana's ban on gay marriage and the impact it has on the children of same-sex couples.
Hi.
16-year-old Abby McPherson Stolen was at last night's rally and is a plaintiff with her parents, Rob and Stephen.
I really thought it was interesting, like hearing both the sides and the arguments, and mostly the other side arguing the same thing over and over while we had multiple reasons.
Well, it really was, from the very beginning, seemed like the judges were really focused on kids and families and fairness, and so it was almost like, you know, they were right inside our heads.
Fisher left the federal building without talking to reporters. Attorneys who argued on behalf of gay marriage were cautiously optimistic following the hearing.
It felt like it went extremely well. It felt like the court was not persuaded at all by the arguments that were put forward by the state, and we're hopeful we'll get a speedy victory.
While a decision could take a year or more, the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals is known for speedy decisions, meaning a ruling could come in the next few weeks. Either way, the losing side is expected to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Live in Chicago, Mary Mills, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, Mary, thank you. Now, we did some digging today to find out the effects of overturning Indiana's same-sex marriage ban. Well, it turns out Indiana has 614 state statutes providing benefits to opposite-sex married couples and not same-sex couples. Those all would have to be changed if that ban is overturned. And federal appeals courts have already overturned bans in 3 states and could soon overturn bans in 6 more, including Indiana. So far, the Supreme Court has stepped in every single time, putting a hold on those decisions until it can make a final ruling. It could be up to a year or even longer until the High Court rules. John? And here's a look at the 3 judges who will rule on the Indiana case. One is David Hamilton. He was appointed to the bench by President Obama. The second is Clinton-era appointee Ann Claire Williams. And the third judge is Richard Posner. He was appointed to the bench during the Reagan years. Now, the most conservative judge of this group is Judge Posner. And a statement he made 2 years ago might give some insight into how the gay marriage decision could go. In 2012, he said, "The United States is not a theocracy and should hesitate to enact laws that serve religious rather than pragmatic secular aims." Now, we have been following this issue on WTHR.com. You can read up on the arguments for and against the ban under Hot Topics. You can also see all the stories, videos, and court documents that have led us to this point.